Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was chosen by the gods, ultimate elemental angel Harem, Tenten Tamari, Samui Kuratsuchi, Fu Karen, Tsunade, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. 35-year-old Naruto Kazama Uzumaki looked out over the barren wasteland that had once been Konoha. He was all that remained of the once great and powerful village hidden in the leaves. Scattered around his battered form was the bodies of all the Akatsuki members, including Piin, their sub-leader, and Madara Uchiha, their true leader and puppet master. He had finally beaten them all, but at a heavy price. All his friends, everyone he had ever cared for, were now dead. His long black trench coat with crimson and orange flames flapped in the winds along with his thickly braided ponytail. He wore black cargo pants with many pockets to hold his spare weapons and storage scrolls, his feet covered with black combat boots and torso covered with a black mesh netting muscle shirt that showed off his hard-toned muscles and the numerous scars he had obtained from both abuse as a child and wounds from battles. The truly sad part of it all was that they were dead because Naruto had been exiled from Konoha 15 years ago by the corrupt members of the council. Why? Because he defeated and killed Sasuke Uchiha in order to stop him and a sound army advance. The council forced Tsunade's hand by threat of civil war, due to those few who sided with Naruto. Either she execute Naruto for killing the oh so precious Uchiha heir, or he be forever banished from the village hidden in the leaves. None of them even cared that he was the biological son and heir of the fourth Hokage and last of the Kazama Uzumaki clans. Rather fear and ignorance won that day, and Naruto willingly left the village. Only a select few of the shinobi clans sided openly with Naruto, and even that was not enough. To further add insult to injury, Tsunade was then ousted as the fifth Hokage and the council appointed a man from Anbu route to take her place. His name was Danzo. She was then forbidden to leave the village along with Jiraiya in fear they would seek out and join Naruto, who was now classified as a SS-class missing ninja. Naruto was saddened that his dreams had been shattered by the corrupt council and that he was forced to become a missing nin, but he continued to live his life, using his skills to help others. He took on the job of a freelance bounty hunter or mercenary and traveled throughout the elemental nations, learning, training and growing more powerful. He studied and trained in everything from seals to forbidden jutsu and samurai styles in hopes of bettering himself. He even befriended the demon within him. Apparently a side effect of the seal was that it cleansed Kyuubi of the evil within her and allowed her to gain emotions. Naruto had been utterly shocked to discover his tenant was a female. An unfortunate side effect of the seal, however, was by the time Naruto reached 25, Kyuubi would cease to exist and all her power would be Naruto's. This all eventually led up to Naruto becoming a half-demon due to absorbing all of Kyuubi's power. All that remained of the demon fox was its soul that was kept safe within Naruto until that too vanished. He had been unable to free her without killing himself and her in the process. She accepted her fate and faded out when her time finally came. He even gained possession of a powerful chakra-enhanced sword, a zanbato called the Requiem, a katana that had control of the elements called Griever, and another katana that could split into segments held by adamant wire, a sword whip called Beowulf. Both katana rested on his back or on his belt. Kyuubi had collected these three special blades during her many centuries of life and had them hidden away. Before she faded, she showed Naruto their hiding places. He also gained superhuman physical attributes and senses along with a faster healing ability due to his unique constitution. The name Naruto Kazama Uzumaki eventually became a feared one, as he was soon called the Crimson Death for the color chakra he sometimes used and the merciless way he destroyed his enemies. He actually had two different chakra sources. Red for demonic, blue for human. He kept his nindo and lived by a strict moral code of ethics in hopes of one day being allowed to either return home or find a new one. Sadly, the only place willing to accept him for even a small amount of time was Suna, and that lasted only until Gaara was killed by Akatsuki members who extracted Shukaku from him. They in turn perished at Naruto's hand and Shukaku was destroyed. In a last-ditch effort to force a conflict with Naruto, the Akatsuki attacked Konoha with their full force, decimating the city and killing almost everyone there. They had figured it would lure Naruto out so they could subdue him and extract Kyuubi. They all paid for it with their lives as Naruto went into a berserker rage at the sight of his former home and the carnage they had caused. A half-demon in a berserker rage with the power of a nine-tailed demon spoke of only one thing: total chaos and utter destruction. The fools hadn't even realized that Kyuubi was no more. So, this is how it all ends, huh? Naruto asked himself. I may not have liked most of the people here, but none of them deserved to be slaughtered like animals. Damn it. Memories of his previous life and the people he cared for flooded his vision. All he had truly wanted from life was to protect his precious people and maybe have a family of his own, perhaps even revive the Kazama Uzumaki clan. But once again he was denied his heart's simple and selfless desires. All of his friends dead, no one left to be with or seek comfort from. Being Hokage had been a nice dream, but it was one of several Naruto had that were now lost. His former home now lay in utter ruins with those he cared for and even those he hated littering the ground with their corpses. Tears welled in his icy blue eyes as he looked down upon the corpses of Tsunade, Shizune, Jiraiya, Sakura, Iruka, Hinata, Kakashi and various others. They didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this. Once again he had failed to protect them. At this moment he truly had nothing left to live for. No one wanted him. He was feared the world over and all alone. Grabbing Beowulf he put it to his neck, preparing to behead himself, the only real way to actually kill him anymore. Is death what you truly desire? A ethereal voice asked. Naruto turned around to see the legendary and dreaded figure of Shinigami appear before him. His head looking like a fanged human skull surrounded by black fire, his skeletal body covered in black robes with silver trim and gold runes. Hovering next to him was a long battle scythe, its handle obsidian with veins of gold and silver running through it, the butt held a wicked-looking spike that could impale anything without fail. The blade was crimson with purple flame-like designs on it and a glowing green crystal sat on top. It was a beautiful master work of a weapon. Why wouldn't I? What else do I have left to live for? Naruto asked, not fearing the death god in the slightest. Truly, what if I told you there was a way to stop this from ever happening? That you could have a second chance at life and correct all that once went wrong? Shinigami asked. Naruto arched an eyebrow. I'd ask what the catch is. He said dryly. Shinigami smirked. He liked this boy. He was sharp with the tongue, quick with the wit and showed no fear. The catch is that you become my avatar, or rather a living Shinigami yourself. You will be given some of my own power added to your own and the knowledge that goes with it. The price is simple. I want you to send me the souls of the Akatsuki and Orochimaru as well as any other evil soul you should cross. It will be your job to protect innocents from the wicked and fix the corruption in this village. Also, I ask that you save the life of the third Hokage, Sarutobi, as his death was partially what caused all your problems in the first place, as he kept you safe from the corrupt humans in your village. With his aid and some others you will be able to flush it out. With my power you will command life and death. Light, darkness and shadow. Shinigami explained. So let me get this straight. You're going to give me my old life back in exchange for giving you the souls of my enemies. And just how do you plan on doing this? Make me into a baby again or something? And what of Kyuubi? Naruto asked. No. I will send you back to the day your team was picked, early morning. Also, to simplify matters, I will personally see to it that Sarutobi is informed of this change so no undue problems occur. It won't be the first time I have visited him in his dreams. I did the night your father passed as well. Also, you will be sent back with all your current knowledge, power and skills, though your body might take a day or two to properly adjust to it all. Sadly, there is nothing I can do for the nine-tailed Kyuubi. Her soul is now forever lost, and when you are sent back she will once again cease to exist. I am sorry. Shinigami answered. Do I have to act like a moron again? I really don't want to go back to my old ways and facade. Naruto stated. He was a bit upset about Kyuubi, but there was nothing he could do about it, so no sense in letting it get in his way. The death god chuckled. It was eerie and freakish but not evil. I think it would be best that you remain who you truly are, no reason to hide. Now, if you accept, I have a few gifts for you. Shinigami said. Naruto thought it over for a moment. Did he really want to go through all of this again? Well, Jiraiya always did say that he never knew when quit, so. I accept. This time things will turn out differently. Naruto said confidently. Excellent. Your first gift will be a special seal on your right arm like the one on your left that contains your sword Requiem. This scythe next to me will be your Reaper weapon. It is called the Soul Edge. It will be sealed into your right arm. Like Requiem, it is slightly sentient and will only obey your commands. Soul Edge though can cause wounds to demons that cannot be healed easily. Adding to your current powers and near limitless chakra will be power over life and death as well as the sacred light, dark and shadow elements in a Reaper form. I will place the knowledge in your mind so that you may work on creating jutsus for them, though I will also grant the knowledge of several useful techniques, and you already seem to know a few special light and dark based jutsu. You will still retain your half-demon look though. The fangs, slit pupils and claws stay. You are lucky that you didn't gain tails and fox ears after absorbing Kyuubi's power, though I suspect she had something to do with that. Now, claim this scythe and I will send you back. Shinigami said as he began doing complicated hand seals. Naruto grabbed the soul edge and watched it flare with black fire before fusing into him and creating seal tattoo similar to the one for his sword. For Requiem, a black Chinese dragon spiraled down his arm, its head resting on the back of his hand. Soul Edge created a runic band on his upper arm and forearm and a yin-yang on the top of his other hand. His arm felt like it was on fire as his body was surrounded with white, black and gray energies. He could feel the powers Shinigami promised him fusing into his own. The pain continued to climb as the massive powers in him fused into his soul and expanded his already massive chakra core. The remains of the no longer seal on his navel shattered. At that moment Shinigami finished the seals. Death God Arts, Chrono's Avatar Resurrection. Shinigami roared as a massive portal appeared around Naruto as his entire being became a swirling mass of raw power. Within the raw energies rest his soul, blood and genetics. The portal flared once and in a flash vanished with Naruto. Now, that is done, I'll just make sure that old Hokage is prepared for what is going to happen. The death god mused before vanishing as well. Naruto woke with a start as he sucked in a rasping breath, his eyes wide and flashing between red, blue and purple. He shook his head and groaned, damn, that had hurt like hell. Checking his calendar quickly, he discovered that today was the day he was assigned to Team 7. He groaned slightly, he'd have to do this crap again. His head was still throbbing from the influx of information on his new Reaper powers. Whoever said subliminal training was painless needed to have a kunai shoved up there. It was almost as bad as using too many shadow clones to train with. Just what I need. I have to go through all this shit all over again. He muttered and was surprised that while his voice did sound younger, it was still a bit deeper. Still, better than the alternative. Getting up from his bed, he walked into the bathroom to look himself over. He looked just as he had in the future, but he was 13 years old again. He frowned slightly. His body was that of a 16-year-old's, but at least he wasn't a complete shrimp again like he was last time. His height was at least 5 feet 11 inches and would eventually reach 6 feet 4 inches when he reached his late teens. Lifting his black muscle shirt up, he found that his seal was indeed gone and he still couldn't feel the presence of Kyuubi, but he still held all of his feral features. His clothes were a bit too long for him now, so he performed a quick matter manipulation jutsu to resize his attire. He was very relieved to find that all his storage scrolls and swords were still with him and he wouldn't have to wear those horrible jumpsuits again. Damn things made him into a target. Not that it mattered, since they had been the only thing the more interesting villagers had let him buy, at a hefty increased price to boot. Wasn't he a lucky soul? He made quick work of the jumpsuits by simply dumping them out of his window and into the dumpster below. Hell would freeze over before he ever wore those ugly damn things again. Sometimes he couldn't believe he did it as a kid just to gain a sliver of attention. He then quickly tied on his forehead protector, the same one Aruka gave him a week ago. He let out a sigh and rubbed his clawed hands over his face. So, I'm back in time to when I was 13 and just before I got placed on Team 7. I know that there are several things that I need to change, but some shit I'm not even going to bother with. That bastard Uchiha is one of them. To think the arrogant prick only saw me as a stepping stone tool to gain his Magankyo Sharingan. I'm going to have to approach things differently this time around. Danzo needs to be eliminated soon as well, preferably before he can get his root Anbu to grow in numbers. Orochimaru and the Akatsuki will be dealt with. I will send their souls to Shinigami-sama as requested. I am not going to hide behind a false facade this time around, and I wish to rebuild my clan as per my parents' wishes. Not sure how I'm going to do that, all things considered. Few women would want anything to do with a Hanyu, a half-demon, not to mention I'm supposed to take multiple mates. Oh well, I will just have to see what happens. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted by a faint tapping on his window. He opened it and accepted the message from the hawk. The small scroll was from Sarutobi requesting his presence in his office. Well, might as well get this part over with so I can get to the academy. Naruto mused and vanished in a swirl of fire. Akira Sarutobi, the professor and the third Hokage of the village, hidden in the leaves, sighed deeply as he sat in his office. He idly packed some tobacco into his favorite pipe, lit it and took several calming drags from it. It was very early morning, so early that the sun had yet to rise. He had been sleeping peacefully when once again his dreams were interrupted by the god of death Shinigami. This had only happened once before, just 2 nights after the death of the 4th Hokage, Arashi Kazama Minato Namikaze, when the death god had told him that he allowed Arashi's soul to pass to another plane so that he could be with his wife and to make sure that Naruto was well protected. This time, however, Shinigami came to him and showed various points of Naruto's life to the man, some of which he didn't know had happened and other that had taken place after his death. To say that it was a shock to discover that Konoha had been so cruel to the boy and then to only have it be utterly destroyed by Naruto's enemies as a way to provoke him would be an understatement. He was both saddened and enraged by the whole thing, but as it was, there was little he could do, or so he thought. Shinigami further surprised him when he brought the souls of Arashi and Kushina with him and entered his soulscape. They then took time to explain what was going on. Everything from Naruto's exile, to his becoming a half-demon and a reaper, to Kyuubi's death. The death of the demon fox had turned out to actually be a tragedy, as it was discovered that had a group of ignorant Konoha ninja not attacked her, then she wouldn't have countered in defense. It worsened when Madara Uchiha took advantage of the situation and forced his taint upon her. It tore at the old man's heart as they showed him the interaction with the fox demon, which in truth had been a guardian of Fire Country. Kyuubi, as sad as it was, had been Naruto's first real love, and he had been powerless to stop her death or the loss of her soul. The boy had taken it hard but moved on with his life. He had been used to feeling such loss that it didn't seem to affect him as much as it would others. Arashi and Kushina requested that the truth behind Naruto's lineage be brought forth sooner so that Danzo couldn't ruin his chances at a happy life. After Sarutobi agreed with the request, the 2 souls returned to whatever realm they now existed in. Shinigami then informed him that Naruto had been brought back in time and fused with his younger self to ensure these events do not come to pass. Sarutobi was made well aware of Naruto's powers and abilities and the fact that the boy would no longer hide who he was, nor would he put up with any more bullshit. Simply put, there would be no mistakes this time around, and Naruto was more than powerful enough to ensure that. A sudden flash of fire shook the elderly man out of his musings as Naruto appeared before him. Sarutobi was a bit shocked to see that the young man looked much like his future self, only younger. Naruto grinned foxily. "Hey old man, long time no see," he greeted. Sarutobi couldn't help but chuckle. For you it has, my boy, but I just saw you the other day. Naruto's face grew solemn. I know. I take it Shinigami-sama has contacted you and informed you of the situation. Yes, he has. The elderly Hokage stated. I am most displeased with what happened to you. You have my promise that it will not happen this time around. Naruto nodded. No, it won't, and thank you for the promise, but I can take care of myself. Naruto paused for a moment. I do hope you plan on retiring after the Chunin exams, because that is when I plan on bringing Tsunade here. As for Orochimaru, he will never leave the forest of death alive if I can help it. Naruto said, his chakra spiked a bit due to his angry thoughts of the bastard. Very well then, what is your plan? Sarutobi asked. Though we will not let it be known to anyone else unless they can be trusted, I would like to consider you as my equal, and it is my hope that you will one day take this job, if that is still your dream. Yes, it is part of my dream, but I also want to rebuild my clan. I'm not sure just how yet, but whatever happens, happens. Naruto stated. As for my plan, I will take my place as a genin and start working my way up the ranks again. This time, however, I want my lineage to be known. My clan will be Kazama Uzumaki, but I want it made clear that I am the son of Arashi Kazama, though I might use his true name in the future. If any assassins show up, they will be dealt with. I also want those in the need to know to be made aware that Kyuubi no longer exists and that I now hold all of her power. Think of me being a half-demon as a sort of Kekkei Genkei, since any children I will have will inherit most of my abilities. Most of them? The Hokage asked. Naruto sighed. Yes. I have some traits I cannot pass on to the next generation should I ever have children. I am in a sense immortal. I will stop physically aging at 25. I can be killed if I am beheaded. If I were a full demon, then that wouldn't even work. I am aware that I will be required to have multiple wives to rebuild my clan, and that comes to the only other trait I cannot pass. Any woman, if by some miracle they do not mind me being part demon, that marries me, she by demon law becomes my mate. This will cause our souls to bond and we will gain a telepathic link. Finally, she will gain my lifespan and stop aging at 25. I am not sure, but it is likely that any female that I mate with will also gain a portion of my power and my healing and regenerative capabilities, but I am not sure. Though I do have a Dujutsu now, a gift from Kyuubi. It is called the Omnigan. With it activated, I can see mana, souls and chakra, as well as shift it into different modes of sight, X-ray, telescopic, heat, night and aura. It also adjusts to speeds so that anything I see will be moving at normal speed or slower. It makes me immune to Genjutsu and can nullify the Sharingan in its Magankyo form. I can't copy Jutsu with it though, nor can I see Tenketsu points or at 360 range. And yes, my Dujutsu will be passed on to any children I might have in the future. Also, my status as a Reaper or the avatar of Shinigami cannot be passed on. You might say that is my burden and mine alone. I will bear it though, as it gives me added strength to protect those I care for and punish those who would harm others for evil reasons. Naruto explained. Admirable goals, my boy. I am quite proud of you. In spite of all the hardships you have endured, you still wish to protect those you care for and innocent people. Sarutobi said with a smile. I am sure you will reach your goals one day, and I hope that this second chance at life gives you what you've been searching for. Naruto smiled at the old man, looking him straight in the eye. It was then that the elderly Hokage saw just how old Naruto truly was. They do say that eyes are the windows to the soul. His eyes showed a man who knew deep loneliness, grief and despair, a man who in spite of these has risen up with undying determination, an unbreakable will and a set of diamond-hard standards and beliefs. I hope so, to Ji-chan, and thanks. I've been alone for so long, sometimes I can't remember what it's like to have friends, having lost them all once. I will not let that happen again. I haven't loved anyone since Q-chan died, or rather faded from existence. Naruto said softly. He didn't usually open up to people, but he knew he could trust the man he saw as a grandfather, and he really needed to get this off his chest. Pent-up emotions could be dangerous if left too long. I still wish I could have saved her. She didn't deserve what happened. It sucks that not even Shinigami-sama can help her since her soul ceased to exist. My only comfort is that when she passed, she was happy. I will admit that I am afraid to try to feel such emotions again. Scars on one's heart like that never fully heal, but it's against my nature to just roll over and die now that I have another chance. I will move on in this time period just like I did in the future, but it might take some time, and I doubt that anyone within my generation would be interested or even want to be in a relationship with me due to my unique situation, but I am patient. I can wait a few generations. Naruto said solemnly. I am sorry you had to go through such things, but I do not think you put enough faith in those your age. Sarutobi said sagely. I know for a fact that there is at least one young woman who would give anything to have just your friendship. Love would be a gift beyond measure to her. Naruto looked rather surprised. Who the hell would like me like that? Sure, I made a few female friends in the future, but nothing I would have considered a deep friendship. Then again, I was rarely in Konoha before I was banished, so I really wouldn't know. Naruto frowned in thought. Sarutobi smirked. He didn't usually pry in people's private lives, but this time he would make an exception. You always were kind of oblivious, weren't you? Sarutobi chuckled. Well, what do you expect? It's not like I had any real experience. Hell, I didn't really get to know Q-chan well until after I was exiled and marked a missing ninja. Naruto stated flatly. Sarutobi sighed. For many it is obvious. Have you not noticed a certain shy girl who frequently watches you and has always been nice to you? Naruto's eyes widened slightly. You don't mean Hinata Hyuga, do you? Yes, I do indeed. Uruka-san has often mentioned it to me during progress reports. He and even a few Junin had a betting pool going on to see if she would either crack first and admit her feelings to you, or if you would actually start to take notice and do something about it. Sarutobi chuckled at Naruto's annoyed look. Great. So now my personal life is for everyone's entertainment pleasure, just wonderful. He grumbled. He sighed. So, Hinata has a thing for me, huh? I did wonder at times, but I never really had a chance to think about it for long with how busy I used to be. Perhaps, this time I should get to know her better, but I don't think she'd think so highly of me if she knew my secrets. I think she might surprise you. Unlike most Hyuga, Hinata has a very kind heart, perhaps too kind to be a ninja all things considered, but she does not seem to be one to judge someone based on something they had no control over. If anything, I would think it would draw her more towards you. Naruto glanced outside and noticed that the sun was now up and he would have to be at the academy soon, so he schooled his features back into his usual impassive mask and took better control of his emotions. For some people he wouldn't have seemed emotional at all, but for him this had been a lot of emotion for him to show. Sad, isn't it? I will take what you have told me into consideration, but please do not expect much. Furthermore, I want a meeting set up with the council later today, after my team announcements. And before you ask, yes. Danzo meets his end today. Without him, Root will fall apart. I know for a fact that he is working with Orochimaru. Naruto stated and turned to walk out before stopping for a second. Just so you know, paperwork doesn't have to be the bane of your existence. Try using a few shadow clones to do it for you, since you will retain what they know after they are dispelled. Oh, send a message to Uruka-sensei to let him know of both my lineage and Akeke Genkai. I trust him fully as well as the people on this list. See ya later, Ji-chan. Naruto tossed Sarutobi a small scroll and gave a two-fingered salute and vanished in a swirl of fire. Sarutobi sat there for a moment stunned. The professor had forgotten one of the most useful purposes of the shadow clone. A grin much like Naruto's trademark foxy grin crossed his aged features as he summoned several clones and then pulled out his favorite orange book to get in some quality reading time while his clones took care of the paperwork for him. Well now, things are sure looking up. Sarutobi mused with a slight blush. Oh, Akiko-chan, you naughty girl. He let out a small perverted giggle, causing his clones to sweat drop. Uruka Yumino sat at his desk reading over the letter the Hokage had sent to him for the third time. He knew the letter wasn't a fake due to the fact that no one could counterfeit the Hokage's personal seal. According to the letter, not only was his adopted little brother the son of Arashi Kazama, the fourth Hokage and the legendary Yellow Flash, but Naruto had awakened a new form of Kekkei Genkai that made his body stronger and unlocked a dujutsu called the Omnigan. The real kicker was that when this happened, according to Sarutobi, Naruto absorbed all of Kyuubi's power and the demon was no more. "What's wrong, Iruka-sensei?" one of his students asked, a young girl named Mia. "You look pale." "Well, I just got a letter from the Hokage concerning a classmate of yours. In fact, he should be here any moment," Iruka answered. This confused many of them because all the graduates were here. In fact, the only one that they knew of that had failed the Genin exam was Naruto Uzumaki. Then, sure enough, someone entered the room. He was tall for his age and had a muscular build that looked to promote both optimum speed and strength. His golden blonde hair was tied back in a thick braid with several loose locks lying messily on top and over his forehead protector. He had icy sapphire blue eyes with feral slit pupils. He had dark whisker marks on his cheeks and what looked like fangs slightly poking out from his upper lip. His features were what someone could claim to be a cross between rugged and feral good looks. He was clad in a black trench coat with red and orange flames coming up from the bottom. His lower half was covered with black cargo pants, a set of dual utility belts and black leather combat boots. Under his trench coat was a muscle shirt made of fishnet. Had his coat been removed, the others would have been able to see his seal tattoos. "Who the hell are you?" Kiba asked, stunned. Naruto shot him a rather deadpanned look. "Geez, Fido, you don't see me for a week and forget me, I'm hurt." "Holy shit!" Kiba exclaimed loudly. "Naruto." A stunned silence went through the room. Sakura and Ino had stopped arguing and were openly staring at him. He idly noticed they blushed slightly. Hinata looked ready to faint. Shino was stoic as usual. Shikamaru was snoozing. Choji just waved at him before going back to his snacks. Kiba looked like someone had hit him in the gut, and Sasuke, he glanced impassively at Naruto before scoffing. "If you think a change of clothes means anything, Dobi, you're a bigger loser than I thought," Sasuke said in monotone. "Sorry to get your panties in a twist, Uchiha, but this is the real me," Naruto said in matching monotone. "What you see is the result of my Kekkei Genkai activating and me tossing out that idiot facade I used to use. I'm sick of being looked down on. The facade had its uses, but this is much better. Now, Iruka-sensei, I believe you have an announcement to make," Naruto said and then took a seat next to Hinata. She blushed and he gave her a kind smile while Iruka began telling the rest of the class some of the contents of the letter the Hokage had sent. All of them were stunned that Naruto was the last heir of the Kazama and Uzumaki clans and as such the son of the hero Arashi Kazama. Sasuke looked pissed off when Iruka informed them of some of Naruto's power and abilities as well as his Omnigan. When asked to activate his eyes, Naruto complied. The result was a bit freaky looking. Like the Byakugan, veins bulged at the sides of Naruto's face near his eyes. However, his eyes did the oddest thing of all. They turned entirely jet black, making it look like he had empty eye sockets before cycling through various other colors. There was no pupil, no retina and no whites, just eyes of solid flashing colors that would stop on a certain color if he was using a certain type of vision. Sasuke Uchiha silently seethed and brooded. How in the hell did a dobi like Naruto gain a Kekkei Genkai? How did he unlock his powers so easily? It wasn't fair. He, Sasuke Uchiha, last heir of the Uchiha clan, an elite and an avenger, needed that power. He thirsted for it. And while the Uchiha was sure the dobi's skills and powers weren't a match for his own, it still bothered him that the loser was gaining power so quickly. He couldn't let a dead last pass him up. When his Sharingan activated, it would put the dobi's Omnigan to shame, then he would prove his superiority to all. Sakura and Ino were gobsmacked. The dobi they had treated so badly over the years was actually the son of the legendary Yellow Flash and had a Kekkei Genkai that could possibly make him even stronger than any other ninja in their generation. Maybe even older generations as well. To find out that his annoying personality and stupidity was an act was like a slap to the face to both girls. They had horribly misjudged the boy, and while their loyalties were still with the Uchiha heir, both thought it would be a good idea to at least apologize for being so mean to him in the past and perhaps try to make friends. Hinata was in awe of Naruto. Not only was he sitting next to her, but he was smiling kindly and even making friendly conversation. It also seemed that everyone else was finally seeing him as she saw him. She could feel his power radiating off him even though he had muted it. His power was so potent that it still put off a Chunin level of power. Just as Iruka was about to start naming off team assignments, two Root Anbu appeared in the room, their attention pointed directly at Naruto, who returned their gaze impassively. Shit. Looks like things have already changed. The main events should remain the same, but from the information Shinigami-sama placed into my mind, I'm betting there will be various little changes that I'm going to have to get used to. Oh well. I do enjoy a challenge. Naruto thought. Naruto Uzumaki, you are to come with us. Danzo-sama wishes to speak with you. Lefty, the one on the left, said tonelessly. HNN. So he managed to hear some of what the old man and I talked about earlier, huh? Naruto mused. I refuse. Naruto replied in a bored tone. I'm afraid you have no choice, demon brat. We will take you by force. Righty snarled. Naruto let out a rather dark chuckle. Is that so? Hate to break it to ya, but Kyuubi don't live here no more. Iruka nearly fainted on the spot. What the hell was going on? The rest of the students in class gawked at Naruto. Had he just admitted to knowing the nine-tailed demon lord? What do you mean, brat? Lefty asked with a sneer. Simple. The Kyuubi, which my father sealed into me just before he died due to the fact he couldn't kill it, is no longer in me. The seals he placed on me bound Kyuubi's soul and powers to my own, and as I grew and continued to be put in life-threatening situations, assassination attempts and the such, it forced the seal to work faster. My little bout with Mizuki Tem was the finishing blow. Kyuubi's soul faded from existence and I gain all of its powers and abilities, hence giving me a new Kekkei Genkai. Naruto explained as if it were common knowledge. I know your pathetic little one-armed master wants to turn me into his own personal little weapon, laughable really. My loyalties are to the Hokage and anyone I deem fit. I will not be controlled and anyone who tries. Naruto trailed off and let his demonic bloodlust out. I will crush them. He finished in a demonic tone. The pressure from Naruto's bloodlust was directed only at the two Root, but everyone felt it and it sent shivers down their spines. To think an indirect dose was this potent. Many of the students quickly got away from Naruto, fear and terror evident on their faces. Oddly, it was only those of what would become known as the Rookie Nine that remained in their spots. The Root looked ready to piss themselves and shakily drew their weapons as they killed their own emotions. This brat was too dangerous to let live. Righty noticed the Hyuga girl next to him suddenly clutched to the brat's arm and hurled a kunai at her. Worst mistake they could have made. Even Iruka winced at the stupidity. Naruto's hand lashed out and snagged the weapon heading for Hinata's face, caught it and shattered it in his hand. Crimson chakra began swirling around him as he stood up. His eyes remained blue but glared balefully at the two Root. His temper was nearing boiling point, but thankfully he was able to suppress the urge to enter into his berserker mode, barely. You dare attack someone precious to me. I was going to let you fools off easy, but now. I will make an example of you both. Naruto growled. He never noticed the bright blush on Hinata's face at his proclamation or the looks of awe coming from the other students save the Uchiha, who was glaring enviously at him. Kill the demon. Lefty roared. I don't think so. Naruto snarled. Naruto shot forward so fast he left an after image and delivered a bone-crushing blow to the Root's gut, causing the man to be lifted off his feet and lose consciousness. Naruto flung the bastard off his arm and into the wall. Righty threw a barrage of kunai and shuriken at Naruto. The young Hanyu cursed. If he moved they would hit Sakura and Ino, who were several rows behind him. The girls in the room let out screams of terror as Naruto let the blades hit him, blocking only the one heading for his head. Nothing he couldn't easily heal, but damn was it annoying. The root smirked evilly behind his mask and threw another barrage, this time towards Shikamaru, Kiba, Choji and Shino. Naruto appeared in front of them and took another set of kunai to the chest, causing the other students to gawk. Why was Naruto protecting them? Pulling out a Fuma shuriken, the root hurled it at Sakura and Ino. Both Kunoichi screamed as Naruto appeared in front of them and took it right in the back, just like Iruka had done for him a week ago. Both girls looked at him with tears in their eyes and frightened looks. He gave them a pained smile. I won't let either of you get hurt. I promise. Naruto grunted in pain. The root sneered. As the little demon protecting his whores, how pathetic. Iruka blanched and ran for cover as Naruto's eyes flashed angry crimson. Naruto turned around and bared his fangs, killing intent now rolling off him in waves. The blades in his body fell out as his wound sealed up in front of everyone. Kiba gulped. Oi, Choji, you reckon there will be anything left of this root guy? Nope. He's screwed, Choji said dryly. Despite Naruto's former reputation, there were a few well-known facts about him. He hated perverts, womanizers, chauvinist pigs and anyone who picked on, beat on or insulted women or children. In the past it was they who were pranked the worst, but now, this new Naruto, they shivered at the thought. Insult me, try to kill me or torture me. I do not care. But you dare insult two of my precious people in my presence after trying to kill them. I will tear you apart. Naruto growled. Both girls pulled a Hinata and blushed when he called them his precious people. In one movement Naruto flung an odd-shaped tri-pronged kunai at the root and formed a ball of swirling dark blue chakra in his hand. Iruka's eyes widened in shock. The two deadliest moves of Arashi Kazama and Naruto had mastered them. Uzumaki style. Hiraishin Rasengan combo. Naruto snapped and vanished in a golden yellow flash of light only to appear behind the root. 2 seconds later a massive hole appeared in the root's chest and the wall behind him as the energies Naruto used finally caught up with real time. The root let out a gurgling noise and fell over dead. The crimson chakra surrounding Naruto faded back into him as he powered down, his back still turned to the others. Sarutobi and Ibiki ran into the room. The Hokage had witnessed the whole thing in his viewing orb. Ibiki looked highly impressed. A genin taking out 2 root Anbu, that was nothing to sneeze at. Sarutobi looked a little worried at what the possible outcome of this could be. Naruto's chances of making friends could have been blown because of Danzo's foolishness. I want this to be known right now, Naruto said, his voice back to normal and calm. I am not a demon, not completely. Because of Kyuubi being sealed into me, it made me into a half-demon, a Hanyu. I didn't have a choice in this. My father sealed Kyuubi to save this village and I bared that burden as best as I could, just like I will bear the burden of being a Hanyu because of it. I mean no harm to anyone unless I am provoked, however I will leave your own judgments up to you. There will be no hard feelings if you chose to hate me for what I am. I will understand as I am used to it. Naruto plucked the Hiraishin kunai from the wall and placed it back in his pouch. I will continue to protect this village and the people in it as a way of honoring my father, Arashi Kazama. I am still Naruto Uzumaki and I always will be. All that I ask is a chance to prove that I am not like the stereotype evil half-breed that everyone believes that I am. That is all I have to say. Naruto then turned to the Hokage. Hokage-sama, could you please get my team assignment for me? I have a matter that needs to be dealt with. I will meet you in the council chambers in 1 hour's time. Naruto said and vanished in a flash of fire. Iruka sighed and walked back over to his desk as several normal Anbu came in to clean up the dead body and help Ibiki take the surviving route to interrogation. Sarutobi remained behind. Perhaps he could help explain the situation better. The students nervously made their way back to their seats, fear and shock still evident on their faces. Sarutobi noted sadly that the young Uchiha heir looked rather angry, if not jealous, of the power he just saw being displayed. He sighed. He had hoped the last heir of the Uchiha clan would want to be different from the rest of his clan, but it seemed that their lust for power and prestige was genetic. Hokage-sama, is what Naruto said true? All of it? Sakura asked nervously. Yes. When he was born I had made a law so that no one of his generation would know the terrible secret he must bear. His father's dying wish was for Naruto to be seen as a hero, one that would use the power that once nearly destroyed Konoha to protect it. However, that was not how it happened. Sarutobi sighed, feeling all of his years more and more by the second. Since the sealing, Naruto has had an assassination attempt made on him at least twice a month, if not more so. The civilians of this village refuse to see him for who he is, rather they only see the demon that was sealed in him. As such, he was thrown out of the orphanage when he was 5 and forced to live alone since then. He has never had any friends until recently and has had to survive on his own. Every year on his birthday he has to go into hiding to keep angry mobs of villagers from hunting him down, trying to kill him. He refuses to fight back because he truly doesn't want to hurt them. Only recently did he discover the truth, and instead of hating everyone he is striving even harder to find a place to belong and people to protect, as is his nature. Quite amazing if you ask me, considering he has hardly been shown kindness from anyone his entire life except from me, Uruka-san, the Ichirakus and a few shinobi. Sarutobi explained. So, that's why mom always told me to stay away from him. Sakura muttered. She said he was dangerous and a disgrace to this village. She had a frown on her face. Do you honestly believe that? Sarutobi asked. At first I did, but after today, after he took all those kunai and shuriken by using his own body as a shield. I don't. She answered. Sasuke scoffed. The Dobi is still part demon, who's to say he isn't playing you all for fools? If he tries anything against me, I will kill him like the beast he is. Uruka scowled at the boy while the other students looked at him in a mix of disgust or awe. His fan club was obviously going to back their precious Uchiha. Sakura and Ino just looked at their crush with disbelief. Naruto had just saved their lives. How can you say that Uchiha? Naruto just saved out skins because of those root guys. Kiba said angrily. Sasuke snorted. You idiots were only in danger because of the Dobi's presence. The root wouldn't have attacked you had it not been here. As long as the demon stays out of my way, though, I don't care what it does. Sasuke sneered and returned to his brooding. Sakura and Ino were torn. Part of them wanted to side with their crush, but the other part of them, their logical sides, were angry that Sasuke could be so cruel towards Naruto. It wasn't his fault that he became a half-demon. Both girls were extremely confused as to what they should do. Hinata just settled for giving the boy an uncharacteristic glare. Sarutobi sighed. He was afraid something like this would happen. Before any more of you get worked up, it should also be known that Naruto, being a Hanyu, is going to be considered his Kekkei Genkai, since some of his powers and abilities and the Omnigan will be passed on if he ever has children. I am not going to order any of you to like him, but I do ask that you give the boy a chance. Now Uruka, let's hear the team assignments. Uruka nodded and started naming them off. Eventually he got to Team 7. Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. Your Junin sensei will be Kakashi Hatake. Uruka said with a slight frown. Not a good team for Naruto to be on, though he was relieved that Sakura didn't seem to mind. Sasuke just seemed to scowl. Team 8, Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga and Shino Aburame. Your Junin sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi. Team 9 is still in rotation from last term. Uruka announced. Team 10, Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka and Choji Akamichi. Your Junin sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. Your Junin sensei will be here to pick you up after the lunch hour is over with. Just wait here in this room until they have shown up to get you, and good luck to you all. Uruka said and followed the Hokage out of the room. Sarutobi and Uruka walked into a surprise as they entered the Hokage's office. Danzo was there, beaten to within an inch of his life, bound and gagged. Naruto stood next to him, stone-faced and with his clothes in tatters and stained with his blood. The wounds had obviously healed, but it looked as if the boy had taken a good load of shit before managing to get Danzo. How did the others take what happened? Naruto asked in monotone. Sarutobi sighed once again. It seems as if some of them will not judge you harshly. Several students showed their support. The one you need to watch out for is Sasuke Uchiha. He now refuses to regard you as a human. Sadly, you are on his team as well, along with Haruno-san. Naruto nodded. I figured as much. Now, is there anything you want to know from the one-armed freak before I send him to Shinigami-sama? Naruto asked. Did he have any files in his office? Sarutobi asked thoughtfully. Yes. I put them on your desk. I also discovered that the bastard was working for Orochimaru as an informant on the snake bastard's promise to let him have control of Konoha after he destroys it. I hadn't expected it to be so soon. Naruto answered, glaring at Danzo's trembling and beaten form. Sarutobi narrowed his eyes. I see. Very well then. That is all I need to know, other than the amount of root left. None. They attacked me and I eliminated them. The only surviving member is with Ibiki right now. The so-called root Anbu of Konoha has fallen. Naruto stated. Iruka looked stunned. But how did you take on that many Anbu and live? The roots are supposed to be the toughest there is aside from Black Ops. Have Ji-san explain it to you. I trust you with my secrets. As for this traitor. Naruto hoisted him in the air. I've got to finish what I started with him, then get back to the academy, later. Naruto and Danzo vanished in a flash of lightning and a crack of thunder. Iruka blinked. Interesting form of teleportation jutsu. He muttered. Indeed. Now then, Iruka-san, shall we discuss our young friend? Sarutobi started. This was getting old. So far he had to explain to Kakashi, Anko, Ibiki and several of the clan heads, so much for the meeting later. After relieving Danzo of his soul and burning the monk's body to ash, Naruto teleported to his apartment and changed his clothes into an identical set he had been wearing. He then sealed his wrecked ones away in hopes he could fix them, if not he'd have to find a tailor to make him some new clothes. He let out a sigh as he began walking back towards the academy. He didn't want his secrets to be out so soon, but that arrogant prick Danzo just had to send 2 of his lapdogs to try and get him. It's not like he really wanted to hide what he was, he just would have preferred that he could have told everyone in his own time on his own terms. Now he was going to be stuck on a team with Sasuke, who hated him in the future due to Kyuubi and now here in the past as well. Sakura. He wasn't too sure about. She had accepted him in the future. It had been one of those rare run times when he had run into his old friends when they were on a mission. It had only happened a couple of times and he offered to help them each time. It was funny in a way. He had been classified, forcefully, as a missing nin, but Tsunade had told her most trusted to ignore it. Naruto always did have a few allies in Konoha, mainly some of the main shinobi clans, his friends, a few shinobi, the Ichirakus, Tsunade and Jiraiya. But this time he didn't know if it was going to happen that way. His secret had been let out far too soon and the timeline as he knew it was altered. By how much he wasn't sure. As it was, things could either get worse for him than in the previous timeline or they could become better. If things got worse though, he would only remain in Konoha long enough to ensure the deaths of Orochimaru, Kabuto, Sasuke if he tried anything in the Akatsuki. After that he would retire his status and leave. Perhaps in time, a few centuries down the line he would be able to find a place to belong, maybe he could even start his own hidden village. The thoughts left a sour taste in his mouth. He had always loved Konoha. Despite what the ignorant ones had done to him, it was his home. Letting out another sigh, he decided not to dwell on it. What would happen, would happen. Naruto entered the classroom to see that the other students were just coming back in from lunch. He quietly took a seat in the back, closed his eyes and began to meditate. The last thing he needed at the moment was hateful glares. It wasn't to be so easy though, as he felt the presence of several people gather around him. He sighed once more. Did you want something, or have you come to kill the demon? He asked in monotone. No. We just wanted to thank you for protecting us, Yano. Kiba said. Naruto opened his eyes to see the rookie 9 surrounding him all except Sasuke, but that was expected. Naruto looked at Kiba for a moment and saw he was sincere. He then glanced at the others. Shino gave him a nod of acceptance. Choji had his usual kind smile. Shikamaru gave him a half smile. Hinata blushed and twiddled her fingers in a cute manner. Ino and Sakura were a surprise. Even more so was the slightly sad looks they had on their faces and a pleading look in their eyes, almost as if they were asking for some sort of acceptance. You don't have to thank me. To be honest, I should probably be apologizing to you all since you were only put in danger because of my presence. I only did what I had to do to protect you. No one should suffer because of what I am. Naruto stated, his voice more normal now but still holding a bit of monotone. Why the hell should such a thing matter, damn it? Kiba said with a growl. Look at my clan. We are feral, so what should it matter if you are a Hanyu? I agree. Shino added in his usual monotone. My clan allows bugs to live in our bodies. Do you think any less of us for such a thing? No. Not at all. Naruto answered honestly. Then why should you be judged for something you had no control over? Choji added. Naruto arched an eyebrow. This was unexpected. That may be true, but what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word demon? He countered. Troublesome. Shikamaru sighed. We've all known you long enough that even after what happened earlier that you aren't some bloodthirsty monster, you're just Naruto, simple as that. We believe in you, Naruto-kun. Hinata added shyly. You all do realize that most if not all of your parents will think that I have somehow corrupted you. Naruto commented. He appreciated the support but he wanted them aware of the price. If you continue to show such support, there is a chance that your parents might disown you, not to mention your reputations being tarnished due to association with me. Not mine. Ino said proudly. They have supported you for ages, I just didn't know why till now. I don't care what my mother thinks. Sakura said softly, causing Naruto to start slightly. I'll just have to make her see you for who you really are, my friend, that is if you want to be. She added hopefully. Naruto let a small smile grace his features. I would be honored. The same goes for the rest of you. With my friendship comes my loyalty and protection. If any of you need me, just flare your chakra in 2 consecutive short bursts, I will come to your aid. So, which team am I on? He asked. He already knew the answer but had to act like he didn't. My team, with Sasuke. Sakura trailed off. Naruto and the others arched their eyebrows. She had left out the affectionate suffix. This is very strange. I didn't expect such a show of support so soon, especially from Kiba, Sakura and Ino. Perhaps things won't be so bad after all. Naruto silently mused. Sasuke walked in and glared at Naruto. Watch yourself, demon. If you do something I don't like, I will kill you, he said coldly, causing the group with Naruto, even his supposed fangirls, to glare or scowl at him. Naruto just glanced at Sasuke lazily. I've been threatened by bigger, badder and more powerful beings than you, Uchiha, and you don't have the power to kill me. I could care less if you hate me and want me dead, pick a friggin' number, but we are on the same team and I expect you to act as such. Naruto said in monotone. Truth was Sasuke could kill him if he got a lucky shot. Naruto's immortality wouldn't kick back in until he reached 25. He wouldn't be easy to kill by any means, but until then it would be possible, not that the prick needed to know such things. Sasuke sneered at Naruto once more and flashed a hateful glare at the others before taking his seat. Naruto noticed the hurt looks on Sakura's and Ino's faces and sighed. About 2 hours later, all that remained in the room were Team 7. Naruto had drawn Griever and was polishing the blade. He let out a slight frown. He'd have to go get more clover oil later since he had just used the last of it, perhaps some other tools and a sword upkeep and repair kit as well. Sakura was over with Sasuke and trying to play peacemaker and hopefully get a date with him. So far the emo bastard just ignored her and outright refused her offers for a date. Naruto looked at her with pity. Even without today's revelations, he knew that Sasuke would never consider her for a date since she was in his mind weak, pathetic and worthless. Just like he did in the future. It was times like this that Naruto seriously had to question the last Uchihas. Sakura did have her annoying points, but she was very attractive for her age and would grow into a stunningly beautiful woman with skills on par with Tsunade. Naruto just shrugged. His loss, though it was probably due to all the inbreeding the Uchiha did to keep their bloodline pure, sadly the Hyuga weren't much different. It was a surprise Hinata turned out as well as she did. Sakura sighed and finally gave up. Part of her wondered why she even bothered. Sure, he was handsome, dark and mysterious, but he sadly had the personality of a rock, a angst, emo-ridden rock, but a rock nonetheless. Her more stubborn part wanted to keep trying in hopes she would crack his outer shell and she would be allowed in. She let out a mixed huff, sigh and looked at Naruto. He was calmly polishing the blade of his sword with a rather serene look on his features. Sakura had to admit, now that she actually took the time to look at him, he was very handsome in that rugged, feral sort of way. She had seen that he could be fierce and deadly, but she could see that he had a gentle side, a side that just wanted acceptance. Her mother had always told her that he was dangerous, a bad kid who would sooner hurt her than look at her. She scoffed slightly. Yeah, he was dangerous, but if he had meant her any sort of harm, he wouldn't have taken that Fuma shuriken in the back for her and Ino and then vow to protect them. Sakura may be shallow at times, but she was far from stupid. She knew the price that would come with being Naruto's friend. At one time she would have laughed at the thought of being his friend, but now she looked forward to it. He was nice to her and treated her like a lady, with respect. Naruto could feel Sakura looking at him, so he looked up from what he was doing and flashed his trademark foxy grin, not the fake one but the true one, in hopes of raising her spirits. Sakura flushed slightly as she suddenly felt an odd twinge in her stomach. That grin of his, Kami, makes him so hot. Inner Sakura cheered. Sakura just agreed mutely. Normally she would say something like no one could be as handsome as Sasuke, but she just couldn't bring herself to. You need something, Sakura-chan? Naruto asked kindly as he resheathed his blade. No. Just admiring your swords. She lied. Really? Never figured you for a Kenjutsu fan. Naruto said. You always struck me as a med nin or genjutsu mistress, though I bet you could probably learn some good taijutsu too. Naruto appraised. Well, I would like to learn medical jutsu and some genjutsu, but I don't really know much taijutsu. As for kenjutsu, I just like to watch. She said a bit shyly. Naruto looked at her for a moment as he mulled over some of his own thoughts. Finally he came to a decision. How serious are you about becoming a med nin? He asked. Very. Tsunade Senju of the Sannin is one of my idols. She answered. I agree, a woman truly worthy of her title. Naruto commented. If you would like, I can help you with medical jutsu. I know a few and I can help you train in taijutsu. Can't help you with genjutsu though, I have no talent in it and can only dispel them. I'll also help you increase your stamina, chakra reserves, control, strength and speed if you like. Why you'd do that for me? Sakura asked, shocked at the boy's kindness. Naruto gave her a warm smile. Sure, you're my friend and my teammate, you want to learn so you can achieve your dreams. Besides, I'm sure with enough training you could be just as good if not better than Tsunade, all you have to do is believe in yourself. Sasuke let out a snort of disgust but otherwise remained quiet. Thankfully Sakura hadn't heard him as she was happily thinking of the things she could learn from Naruto. She was very happy that he would call her his friend, even after the way she used to treat him. She silently vowed to be a good friend to him and never to let him down. At that moment a man in standard Junin wear, silver hair that defied gravity and a face mask on walked into the room. Team 7, he asked lazily and the three nodded. My first impression, this should be interesting. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. With that he vanished in a swirl of leaves. Kakashi nearly jumped out of his skin when Naruto and Sakura suddenly appeared next to him in a swirl of burning leaves. Sakura had an odd expression on her face and sit down. Naruto chuckled. I made a few new types of teleport jutsu. Depending on your element, I will teach you the normal one and a special one. He said, and the pink-haired girl smiled. I see. So Hokage-sama wasn't just pulling my leg. To think that this Naruto is really from the future and trying to stop a horrible event from happening. Sigh. I will do my best to help him. It's the least I can do for the son of my former sensei. Kakashi thought. Nice trick with the Shunshin Jutsu, Naruto. Kakashi said with his usual eye smile. Naruto gave him a half smile. He knew full well that the old man would have explained things to Kakashi since the man was on his trusted list. It's really easy. All you have to do is perform your usual teleport and then add your element chakra to it instead of the usual, which for this village is either leaves or smoke. If you have more than one element type, you can combine them too, though it takes more control to do it. Sasuke stormed onto the roof and pushed Naruto aside, grumbling about demon show-offs. Kakashi glared at the boy. Naruto yawned and Sakura just shook her head. Alrighty then. Why don't we start things off by introducing ourselves to get to know each other better? I'll go first. Kakashi stated. My name is Kakashi Hatake. My likes are reading. Dislikes. Hobbies. I will keep those to myself. My dreams for the future, don't really have any at the time. Naruto snickered while Sakura sweat dropped. The Lord of Brood just remained silent. Okay then, you're up next, Pinky. Kakashi said. Sakura shot him a slight glare. My name is Sakura Haruno. My likes are reading, cooking and sushi. My dislikes are mean people, perverts and bullies. My hobbies are reading, learning new things and testing out new recipes. My dream is to become a great med nin. She stated. She glanced slightly at Naruto, who smiled and nodded his approval. She blushed slightly and smiled back. Much better than last time. It seems Sakura-chan is seeing emo boy for who he really is. Naruto thought, glad to see his friend having a more level head this time around. I'm impressed. I had heard that she was one of the Uchiha's most loyal fangirls. But now it seems that her interests are switching to Naruto. Funny thing is, he seems oblivious and she doesn't realize it yet. She also seems quite level-headed, and from what I've learned from her files, medical jutsu and genjutsu would be perfect for her. Kakashi thought. You're next, duck ass. Kakashi pointed to Sasuke, who scowled. Naruto had to hide his snicker behind a sudden cough. Even Sakura looked to be holding back a giggle. Until now she hadn't noticed, but his hairstyle did resemble the rear end of a duck. I am Sasuke Uchiha. I have no likes and many dislikes. My hobbies are training and learning new jutsu. I have no dream, rather an ambition. To restore my clan and to kill a certain man, and Sasuke trailed off with a sneer as he glanced at Naruto for a moment. Well, aren't I special? Not surprised though, oh well. Naruto mused dryly. Sakura frowned. The more she was around Sasuke this day, the more she realized he wasn't who she thought he was. Just wonderful. An Avenger with questionable mental stability who obviously wants to kill one of his own teammates. I will do my best to change that. I owe it to Obito's memory, but if he tries anything suspicious, I'll stop him myself. Kakashi shook his head in disappointment. You're next, Blondie. Kakashi pointed to Naruto, who chuckled good-naturedly. My name is Naruto Kazama Uzumaki. I like reading, studying and inventing seals and trying new foods. I dislike ignorance, arrogance, cruelty, perverts and evil demons. My hobbies are gardening, training, learning jutsu and hunting evil demons when they appear. My dreams are to one day restore my clan, to make my father proud and surpass him, and to become the strongest Hokage in Leaf history. Impressive, but then again he has the mind of a mature adult in the body of a 13-year-old boy. Still, his goals are admirable, despite the horrible way he has been treated. Arashi-sensei, you would be proud of your son. Kakashi thought with a small smile. Evil? Demons? Aren't all demons evil? Sakura asked curiously as she tilted her head to the side cutely. Well, I am a Hanyu and I would like to think that I am not evil. But to answer your question, no. Not all demons are evil. There are as many types of demons out there as there are humans. I know for a fact that the two-tailed demoness, Nibi no Nekomanta, is not evil. Summon creatures are actually a branch of demons called dire beasts, and they aren't evil. Well, most of them. Most demons prefer to remain neutral though and not get involved with humans. I am the exception since I am a Hanyu, the first in millennia. Though my demonic blood is more dominant than my human blood, I still retain my humanity, but consider this, there are humans that are just as evil if not more so than some of the most vile demons breeds out there, one being former snake Sanin Orochimaru. Naruto explained. Kakashi nodded. As a ninja you must always look underneath the underneath. Just because someone or something is supposed to be evil by stereotype doesn't mean that they are. That makes sense. Sakura said, still in thought. You said demons have ranks, what's yours? To be totally honest, I am the new nine-tailed lord, but there are demons out there that are still equal to if not more so to Kyuubi's power. Naruto answered. You sure seem to be taking this rather well, Sakura-chan. Sakura flushed. Well, I was just curious. I don't really care if you are a demon lord, you're still Naruto-kun to me. She said, not even realizing she used the affectionate suffix. Kun. She called me Naruto-kun. Holy shit. I never expected anything like this, bah. I need to calm down and not read so much into it, it was probably just an accident. Naruto thought. His face remained in his usual kind expression and betrayed none of his thoughts. Kakashi had a slightly smug look in his visible eye. Sasuke, brooding to himself as usual. Thanks, Sakura-chan, Naruto said with a smile. If you two are finished, can we get this over with? I have more important things to do. Sasuke sneered at them. Right, anyways. Kakashi started. Tomorrow you three will be taking your final test to see if you are truly worthy of becoming genin. It will be a survival exam at 7 a.m., meet at the bridge to training ground 7, so remember to bring your gear. Oh, don't eat breakfast either or you'll puke. I'll give you a fair warning though, your chances of passing this exam are slim as there are only 9 genin out of the entire graduating class that are ever chosen to pass this final test. Good luck. Kakashi said with a wave and vanished in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke shot one more glare at Naruto before leaving to train as usual. Naruto shook his head and sighed. With that kind of attitude we will fail the test. He said in an almost pitying tone. What do you mean? Sakura asked. Naruto was a bit surprised that she didn't try to go after the boy. Well, part of my former facade was to keep people thinking I was far more stupid than anyone else and had no common sense. I assure you that is false. I don't like to think of myself as a genius, but I have a lot of street smarts and common sense. Tactics were one of my favorite things to study by myself. Naruto started. Anyway, there are a few things I know about this final test that most wouldn't get until later. The main part of the test is to see if we can work as a team and to gauge our skill levels. No matter the skill levels though, we will fail if we do not show teamwork. That is after all the purpose of the 3-man genin cells, to teach us how to work as a team. That and logically speaking no genin or even 3 together stand a chance against a seasoned Junin like Kakashi. But you took down 2 Anbu earlier and they are Junin level or higher. Sakura pointed out. Yeah, I'm kinda an exception to that rule since I've been training to be a ninja since I was 5 years old. I have some secrets, someday I will tell you them when you're ready, but it is because of those secrets that I am so powerful. But don't underestimate Kakashi, he is powerful and would give me one hell of a fight. Naruto stated. He didn't want to reveal his secrets to her just yet, not until she proved to be trustworthy. Sakura frowned. But how are we going to get Sasuke to work with us? He hates you and I don't think he's too fond of me at the moment either. She said, looking a bit hurt. Naruto sighed and placed his hand on her shoulder in a comforting manner. I know. I will think of something. Besides, the council will not allow him to fail and will force Kakashi to pass him if need be. And I am sorry you have to see him for who he truly is. Like me, he has had a hard life. Unlike me, he is choosing the darker paths to take. He is obsessed with power and thirsts for it. The desire for revenge clouds and taints his soul. I don't hate him. If anything, I pity him. His path will only lead to his own destruction, but his own arrogance and ignorance will not allow him to see it. Naruto said softly. Sakura looked sad. Is there any way we could fix this, change him? I wish there was, but you can't force someone to change, they have to want to change. All I will ever be to Sasuke is a stepping stone, he sees me as an obstacle to killing his brother. Naruto sighed again. I know you have feelings for him and I'm sorry if what I said upsets you. But I only speak the truth. My Omnigan can see into the souls of others, his is already far too tainted for even me to help, he has chosen his path, the path of vengeance. Just like I have chosen my path, the path of a protector. You are my friend and I will always be there for you, but I will not make your choices for you. I hope with Sasuke you can make the right choice so you don't get hurt. Just remember, if you ever need to talk to me, you know how to get me. Naruto said. Sakura looked deeply into Naruto's eyes and saw a maturity there that far surpassed his years. His eyes, when he let them be, were very expressive. She could see pain and loneliness swirling in them, but also towards herself she could see a deep affection that he seemed to try to hide. Normally she would think he was crazy and that no one could be better than Sasuke, but something deep within her was telling her to trust him. It was a strange feeling that rooted itself deep in her heart, almost like it was an instinct rather than an emotion. She didn't want to give up on Sasuke just yet, she still believed that there might be a chance to get him to come around, but she would heed Naruto's words and be careful. For once her inner persona was silent, as if it agreed with Naruto wholeheartedly. She herself was sorely tempted to as well, but that now dwindling part of her that was a fangirl refused to give up just yet. Thank you, Naruto-kun, I still want to try and help Sasuke, but I will remember what you said. Sakura stated, still not realizing she had placed the suffix on Naruto's name. Naruto nodded to her with a smile. That is all that I ask. He looked thoughtful for a moment. Oh, before I leave, I want you to promise me to eat some breakfast in the morning. The reason he told us not to was to purposely make us weaker, it is part of the test. Besides, Kakashi is well known for many things, but one of the biggest things is that he never arrives on time for anything and is usually 2 to 3 hours late, unless otherwise ordered by the Hokage. Sakura gave a nod. It made sense if today was anything to go by. Naruto waved goodbye and vanished in a swirl of flames, leaving the young woman to her thoughts. Akira Sarutobi along with his son Asuma, Kurenai Yuhi, Kakashi Hatake, Guy Maeda and Anko Mitarashi stood in the Hokage's office. The three new Junin sensei were there to give their report on their new teams. Guy and Anko were waiting for Ibiki to come so they and the rest could start an important council meeting that would change Konoha forever. It had been 4 hours since the team meetings finished with Kakashi's. Well, how did your team fare, Asuma? Sarutobi asked. Pretty well, Pops. The Yamanaka girl is a bit loud and bossy, but she's good with her clan jutsu. Choji is as well. The surprise was Shikamaru Nara. He acts lazy like most of the Nara clan, but this kid seems to be much smarter, a lazy genius if you will. I think I will have his IQ tested later if they pass the final test. Asuma reported. Very well, Kurenai-san. Sarutobi asked. I think my team has a good shot at passing the test. Though Kiba is loud and brash, he has a good head on his shoulders. Shino is much like the other Aburame, meaning he is stoic and hard to read. Then there is Hinata. She is unlike the others of the Hyuga clan due to her immense shyness, but she shows the will to change herself and become better. She also seems quite taken with Naruto Uzumaki. Kurenai stated with a slight smile. She was also a Naruto supporter. Asuma chuckled. Ino Yamanaka also seemed to like the kid. Instead of talking about the Uchiha kid, she talked about him and his amazing skills that he showed earlier today. I don't think she realizes it yet, but she has a crush on him. My, Naruto-kun seems to be full of the springtime of youth. Guy shouted happily, causing the others to sweat drop. I'm not so sure about my team, Kakashi said with a slight frown. Sarutobi sighed. I figured as much. So what did you see? Well, Sakura Haruno seems to be getting out of her Uchiha fangirl phase and is also taking an interest in Naruto. That could be a good thing. Naruto is, as you said, very mature for his age, has admirable goals and is very powerful and intelligent. Sasuke Uchiha, however, now sees Naruto as a threat or possible stepping stone to get closer to killing his brother. Sasuke didn't voice it but definitely showed intent to kill Naruto if the chance is provided. As such, the only teamwork I expect to see will come from Naruto and Sakura. Kakashi said, crossing his arms. This will be a problem. Even with Danzo now out of our hair, the council will not let you fail the Uchiha. They do not want to risk losing the Sharingan. I know for a fact that the elders have already set up a few arranged marriages to ensure the line is carried on, though why they chose civilians is beyond me. Sarutobi stated. Simple G-san. They chose civilians because they are less likely to be killed in the line of duty and are easily controlled. Naruto's voice said from above. Startled, everyone looked up to see Naruto standing upside down on the ceiling using his chakra. He flashed them a foxy grin and a wave before releasing himself to land next to Kakashi. Sorry about the surprise entrance, but I figured it would be best if I was here when we had the council meeting rather than show up a little later. Naruto fished through his scroll pouch and pulled out a sealing scroll and handed it to Kakashi. This scroll contains 10 Hiraishin kunai and a copy of the instructions my dad left to me. I figured as his student he would have wanted you to have it, and I would like you well prepared for the future. All that I ask is you not share that jutsu with anyone unless I give you permission, since it is a family jutsu. Naruto said. Kakashi looked stunned as he gazed at the scroll Naruto gave him. He had always dreamed of learning the Hiraishin. Arashi had promised to teach him, but when the Kyuubi attacked he had to break that promise. What was more was that Naruto, to give him this must have meant that he considered Kakashi family. Naruto. Kakashi didn't know what to say. Naruto smiled at him. In my father's will he had said he wanted to teach you the Hiraishin, but because of the Kyuubi attack he wasn't able to. You were like a son to him, and in a sense that would make you kinda like my older brother, and I trust you, so I decided to let you have the Hiraishin to add to your arsenal, to both honor my father's wishes and as an act of goodwill. Kakashi just nodded dumbly and carefully put away the scroll. Sarutobi looked bemused at the two. Why an act of goodwill, my boy? He asked. Because even though I am a Hanyu, I want to prove that despite the stereotype of how all things even slightly demonic were evil, that was just a load of crap. I know some will never view me as a person but as a demon. I don't really care anymore. So long as the important people in my life know that I am just Naruto, that is fine with me. The others, if I can't earn their respect, then that is the way it will have to be. It will not change my goals or my dreams. Naruto answered. At that moment each of the other ninja in the room felt a deep sense of respect for Naruto. Though only a few of them didn't know the whole story, they wouldn't have cared. Their acute senses as ninja allowed them to detect any and all falsehoods in a person's voice, no matter their power level or ability, and Naruto had spoken nothing but the honest truth. Sarutobi smiled. Well then, we will help you as best we can, but now back to business. What is your opinion on the matter with Sasuke Uchiha? Naruto frowned in thought. Well, he is arrogant, ignorant, cruel to those he deems weak, and obsessed with revenge. My Omnigan has seen into his soul. It is tainted with darkness right to its core. He is extremely jealous of me because of the power I had shown earlier, yet he doesn't seem to realize or care about the price I had to pay. Naruto explained. He will continue to train. His thirst for power cannot be quenched. It never will be, due to his mental instability. If he does not get the power he seeks here in Konoha, he will abandon the village without a second thought to gain the power he desires to kill both me and his brother. Sadly, he has a better chance of killing Itachi than he does me, and when I reach 25 his goal to kill me will become moot, as I will become immortal at that age. However, I can and will protect myself. Simply put, if he tries to kill me, I will stop him, but I will not kill him unless he commits an act that deserves such a punishment. Your best option is to have Kakashi-sensei take him on as an apprentice. Stroke the Uchiha's ego if you will. That will keep him under some form of control. It's all a matter of playing a simple mind game with him to make him think he is being seen as a superior. Just teach him some decent jutsu and give him some good training, and who knows, in time he may get it through his thick skull that revenge isn't the answer. Just don't teach him something like the Chidori or Reikiri. That would be a fatal error, since I am sure he would use it to try to kill me or someone close to me to get at me. Damn, that is quite perceptive for a 13-year-old. Asuma stated. As a shinobi, it is my job to be perceptive, just like it is my duty and honor to serve our Hokage and protect this village from any threat. Naruto answered. Still, foresight like that usually comes much later in life and after much training, hardships and lessons. Guy said in an uncharacteristic serious tone. Sarutobi winced. He hadn't told Kurenai, Asuma or Guy about Naruto's other secret yet. That is to be expected when you have the mind of a 35-year-old man in the body of a 13-year-old boy. Naruto said calmly. Gigi, please pull out your viewing orb. It is time for them to see the hellish future I come from. Sarutobi nodded as the other Junin gawked wide-eyed. Ibiki had just walked in as he made that statement and frowned. This wasn't going to be a good show to watch. Naruto then began going through various hand seals at high speed as his chakra began to collect in a soft glowing white orb in front of him. Sage Arts, Memory Copy Jutsu. Naruto intoned as the orb of light flared once and then settled into the viewing orb. What you are about to see is all the important memories of events that happened in my life right up until Shinigami-sama sent me back in time to correct it. This is a SSS class secret. I am trusting each of you with this since you proved trustworthy in my previous timeline. Now watch the hell that was my life. Naruto said in monotone. It took nearly 2 hours for the show to end. It had touched on the horrible abuses Naruto had seen as a child, to the crap he took when he joined Team 7, which Naruto noticed a look of shame cross Kakashi's eye. They saw all of his achievements and how he never got a shred of thanks for his work or sacrifices. In fact, some of his hard-earned victories were given to the Uchiha. They saw the Sand War, Sarutobi's death, Orochimaru's treachery, the list went on and on. It got even worse when they saw Naruto get exiled by Danzo in a corrupt council and be marked as a missing nin. They saw his life as a mercenary, how he would still help other Leaf Nin when he could, his battles with Sasuke, Orochimaru and the Akatsuki, and finally, the downfall of Konoha and his deal with Shinigami. The reactions varied. Sarutobi had seen this already but still showed great anger. Kakashi looked both shamed and enraged. Guy and Asuma seemed to share his reaction. Ibiki had a grim look of understanding on his face, having seen horrible things himself. Kurenai looked ready to burst into tears and Anko looked ready to kill the council. Naruto sighed. And there you have it. I came back to stop what you saw from happening. Danzo is already gone and I destroyed his root organization. When Orochimaru attacks, I will reap his soul and send it to Shinigami-sama, and then I will start with the Akatsuki. Kurenai looked at the boy sadly. But why? Why would you help a bunch of ungrateful fools? Why protect those who caused your suffering? She asked. Because that is who I am. I was chosen, be it by my father, fate, destiny, or a mix of the three, to be a sacrifice. I fight that to show that I am more than a sacrifice or a scapegoat. I protect the ignorant villagers because I can in a way understand their pain, since I am in a manner of speaking a living reminder of their loss and the horrors of that night 13 years ago. If I were to give in to the darkness and pain, then it would just cause this whole thing to repeat itself in a vicious cycle of hate and pain, and that goes against my nature. I accept what and who I am. I have friends and people here worth protecting, and for that I can bear these burdens. Though Kyuubi no longer exists, I do. And by assimilating all of her power I have become the new nine-tailed lord. But I made the decision to return to the past, protect those I once could not, fix what once went wrong and watch over this village. It is not only the wish of my father but mine as well. This is my home, that is all there is to it. Naruto stated. Anko shook her head, amazed by the boy's ability to forgive and his will to fight and protect others. You are too damn noble for your own good, you know that, right? She asked. Naruto grinned. Yup. Iruka-sensei always did say that I never knew when to quit. I got a second chance and in effect so did all of you, and I'll be damned if I waste it. A few chuckles filled the room as the others agreed. Anyway, we went off subject. We will handle Sasuke like so. When he is with us. Kakashi, I want you to show some favoritism towards him, stroke his ego and all that. Meaning I want you to take him to another training ground for a while during our training since he will be labeled your apprentice. I will see to it that Sakura is trained and I don't want Sasuke to see some of the techniques I have. I created them and there are few I will share with outside of this room. Naruto stated. I will be helping Sakura train mainly in stamina, speed, strength, control and increasing her reserves at first. Then I will check for her elemental affinity and train her in that, some medical jutsu and a few of my special jutsu, which is basically advanced chakra manipulation. Asuma looked interested. Advanced chakra manipulation? Yeah, I have learned how to manipulate my chakra to the point I can get it to solidify into weapons like kunai and shuriken, including my elemental affinities. I can also make a blade out of chakra like Kakashi-sensei's Reikiri, but my most useful one is the chakra barrier and shield. The shield is for self-protection by making your chakra solidify and create a large shield in front of you that you can manipulate to either guard your front or back. The barrier works best with shadow clones and can protect a group of people so long as your chakra holds out. Both work on the basic principle of using your chakra to create a solid object like the shadow clone and Rasengan, but they don't require nearly as much chakra to use. The catch is in order to keep them up you have to feed them chakra after a few hits or they will shatter. They are high chunin to low junin level techniques, cannot be copied by the Sharingan because they lack hand seals and using them promotes the growth of your own chakra reserves and control. Naruto said in lecture mode. The Junin in the room looked extremely eager to learn this new form of jutsu. Had Kakashi's mask been off, Sarutobi was sure he would have been drooling. Even Guy, who preferred the use of taijutsu, saw the merits of having such a powerful jutsu. Your father would be proud, my boy. He too was always looking to create new and useful jutsu. How soon do you think you could have scrolls ready for this interesting new technique of yours? The Hokage asked. By tomorrow. I have 20 shadow clones at home writing them down on scrolls for those who prove trustworthy. In time when I will most likely publish a handbook on some of them like the chakra weapon jutsu. I do ask that certain ones like the shield and barrier jutsu be kept to yourselves unless I say otherwise, since they are well beyond genin level unless said genin are highly trained. Naruto stated. I'll have a clone bring them here to Ji-san's office. He added as an afterthought. So then Kakashi, do you agree to Naruto's plan? Sarutobi asked. Yes. I'm not really thrilled with it or with the way I acted in his previous timeline, but I agree that the best way to do this is to keep Sasuke under control as best we can. The elderly Hokage nodded and then turned to Naruto. I know you wished to climb the ranks like anyone else has to, but by rights you should be Elite Junin or Elite Junin. As such, your official title will remain Genin, but once you reach Junin I will give you the rank of Special Junin or Elite Junin, that is if you have a summon or specialties. In the previous timeline I had two. I learned how to summon toads thanks to Arrow Sennin. This got a few chuckles. And later I signed the contract for foxes. This time I will stick with fox summons, I just need to go get the contract and sign it again. Hugh-chan has it in a cave not far from this village. Naruto's face goes slight pained at the mention of Kyuubi. The other ninja in the room would have thought him crazy had they not seen in his memories what the demon vixen had done for him, how she had been there and comforted him. It was clear that he had really loved her and she had loved him once the evil forced into her was cleansed through the seal. You really did love her, didn't you? Kurenai asked, referring to Kyuubi. Naruto nodded, his impassive mask once again in place. Do Do you know why she attacked 13 years ago? Kakashi asked. Yes, I do. She was summoned by a man with the Magankyo Sharingan. Madara Uchiha. We know it wasn't Itachi since he was too young and didn't have it. All we know is that he was a Uchiha, but he reeked of death and brimstone, and Madara had once before manipulated Kyuubi using his Sharingan. Our best guess was that he made some sort of deal or pact with an archdemon. The reason she went berserk was because she was forced into her human form and tortured with Tsukiyomi while a demon implanted tainted chakra into her body. We think that it was a humanoid demon lord named Xenobus. When I do find out which demon it was, I will crush it. And Madara. The last part came out as a snarl. Why, you mean to tell me that Uchiha nearly destroyed Konoha? Kakashi asked, alarmed. That prick might have been a Uchiha by blood, but I assure you he was no longer human. His soul had been sold for power. He had wanted to destroy all life in Konoha except the Uchiha clan so he could make a village of nothing but his clan. Naruto answered. Sarutobi shuddered as he recalled something from the scrolls telling of Konoha's history. Madara Uchiha. He was the founder of the Uchiha clan, and like yourself, a Hanyu. Naruto and several others stiffened. The young Hanyu looked at the elderly man with a piercing gaze. Tell me everything you know. Sarutobi sighed as he refilled his pipe and lit it. He was once known as Madara Hyuga, a member of the Hyuga branch family. He, like all other branch members, had the cursed seal placed upon him known as the caged bird seal, and he was a clan prodigy. He was an orphan as well, but remained bitterly loyal to the Hyuga until he learned the secret behind his parents' deaths when eavesdropping on a council meeting. His father was a Hyuga like him, but his mother, she was what was known as a mimic, a demon that copies other creatures. Apparently this mimic, her name I do not know, fell in love with Madara's father Miyazaki and mimics human form to be with him. Miyazaki knew her secret but loved her all the same, and a year after they married she gave birth to Madara. Sadly, one of the Hyuga Elder Council discovered the truth and had both killed as they saw it as a sin against their clan. The caged bird seal and a demonic suppression seal was placed on Madara when he was old enough to handle it. He was known as the Red-Eyed Hyuga. Madara was enraged when he discovered the truth, and in an act of defiance he summoned a demon that killed many of the elders. He then made a pact with the demon using the slain Hyuga as a sacrifice. The seals were removed and his demonic blood was released, giving birth to the Sharingan, a dojutsu that can mimic movement and copy jutsu. He then swore his allegiance to the first so that he could start his own clan, the Uchiha clan. Sarutobi paused for a moment and took a long pull off his pipe before continuing. Madara in time grew arrogant and lusted for power as his clan grew. He stayed in Konoha for several generations and plotted to make Konoha into an all-Uchiha village until the first Hokage caught on and exiled him for treason. Madara left and vowed revenge. The rest of his clan was left alone because they seemed loyal to the Hokage and remained so clear up until Itachi went on a rampage. The many years of inbreeding within their clan had warped their minds. It is truly a sad thing. The Hyuga would have met the same fate had Hiashi and a few other main house members married outside the clan to help fix their bloodlines. Sarutobi explained. Naruto frowned. Well, that explains a lot. I assume you kept Sasuke around because there was a chance that he would grow up opposite of what the rest of his clan was due to what his brother pulled, right? Sarutobi nodded. Yes, he was still a child and we believed that he would be the one who fixes the Uchiha clan. Sadly, his guardian was Danzo, who saw him as a pet project. Between that, his genetic mental instability and the trauma he suffered as a child, it seems he will follow the same path as Madara and Itachi did. Naruto sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose to ward off a rather sudden headache. I'd say I'm getting too old for this shit, but at this point it'd be a bit redundant. He said dryly. A few snickers were heard from the others and Naruto looked at the clock on the far wall. It was nearly time for the council meeting. The meeting is about to start. We should get ready. Naruto commented. Yes, we should, but you should get some rest and relax a bit. We can handle the vultures. Sarutobi said. Are you sure about that? it's no problem for me to attend seeing as how I will be the main subject. Do not worry, my boy, you have an early morning ahead of you and I've been looking forward to putting some of those bastards in their place for a while now. Let an old man have some fun. Sarutobi said with a slight grin. Naruto chuckled. Okay, Ji-san. I need to go and get some supplies before heading back to my apartment and gathering the rest of my stuff to move to the compound anyways. Naruto waved goodbye and vanished in a swirl of water. Surprisingly, nothing was wet after his departure. I really want to learn how he does that. Perhaps I should experiment later. Kakashi muttered. A short time later, Sarutobi stood in front of the council on the center podium. Gathered were the elders, his two former teammates Homura Mitokado and Kaharu Udatane. The shinobi council with the main clan heads of the Hyuga, Yamanaka, Aburame, Inuzuka, Akamichi and Nara clans, as well as a few other noteworthy ones. The civilian council mainly consisted of various merchants and business owners. They were the ones who hated Naruto the most as they were ignorant to the ways of a ninja. The remainder of people in the room were various Junin and a few Anbu members watching from the shadows. Sarutobi cleared his throat to get things started. I have gathered all of you here today to discuss some important new information regarding Naruto Uzumaki. So you've finally come to your senses and are going to kill the demon. Just look at what he did to Danzo-sama's root members that were sent to collect him earlier today, and in front of the other children no less. A civilian member stated. Next to the man sat an attractive woman with pink hair and green eyes in her early 30s. Sarutobi arched an eyebrow when a vein bulged on the woman's brow and she glared at the man next to her. Her name was Yuki Haruno and she had been one of the ones who had voted to have Naruto executed during past meetings. However, this rather sudden change in attitude was interesting. I said years ago the demon brat should have been executed or at least given to Danzo-sama so it could have been some use to our village as a weapon. The man thundered. Wham! Oh, shut it, Nagashi, you damn old prude. Yuki growled after feeding the man next to her a Haruno-class brain duster. The boy wouldn't have had to fight back had Danzo-Tem's little puppets not tried to kill him. My daughter told me the whole damn story. He used his own body to shield her, Ino-chan and several other clan heirs from attacks. Hell, their sensei Iruka-san even confirmed the story. Nagashi glared at the woman. So you now take the demon's side. How dare you betray us? Because he saved my child's life, that's why, you little prick. She screamed at him. Enough. The Hokage roared out as he let his killing intent wash over them, causing many of the civilians to shudder in fear. It is as Mrs. Haruno has said, and Danzo was also found to be a traitor. Files were found and it seems Danzo has been working for Orochimaru. He was executed for his crimes earlier today for treason. Now, Nagashi-san, learn your place. The pompous man sputtered in both fear and anger before sitting back down to shoot scowling glances at the woman next to him who just cracked her knuckles as if saying, "Try me, asshole." Now, as I was saying, I recently came across some old birth records from the day of the Kyuubi attack 13 years ago along with a birth certificate for Naruto. His mother was Kushina Uzumaki and his biological father was Arashi Kazama, otherwise known as Minato Namikaze. What? Came the shocked shout from more than half the council. Shikaku Nara smirked. Told ya, he said smugly to Inoichi Yamanaka. It doesn't end there. Sarutobi said with a grin. He was enjoying the rather stunned looks he was getting. Due to his rather harsh treatment and near-death experiences, no thanks to many of the villagers and some of this very council, the seal Arashi placed on him to keep Kyuubi sealed was forced to work differently. It was designed to purge the evil from the demon and purify its chakra using Shinigami's power while fusing it into Naruto's own chakra, making the boy's chakra levels grow exponentially. This should have taken nearly 20 years, but due to his treatment it finished doing its job about a week ago when the traitor Mizuki tricked Naruto into stealing the sacred scroll. As a result, the Kyuubi's soul has ceased to exist. In other words, the demon is no more. But as a side effect, Naruto gained all of its powers and abilities, turning him into a Hanyu and unlocking a new Kekkei Genkai called the Omnigan, a Dujutsu on par with both Byakugan and Sharingan. Sarutobi stated with a smug look on his aged features. Then, the boy is truly a half-demon. Sume Inuzuka asked. She was one of his supporters. Technically yes, but since he is in complete control and the evil forces in the Kyuubi's chakra were purified, it has become more of a bloodline than anything else. I have personally made sure of this. The seal is gone, but so is Kyuubi. His power is untainted and his desire to protect this village is honest. He has all the power of Kyuubi but none of the evil that had tainted it. The Hokage explained. Hiyashi Hyuga had never been a supporter of the boy, but he had never actually hated him either. One might say he was more of a neutral. His analytical mind mulled over the pros and cons of this situation. The cons being that if the boy was ever brought to anger, he could possibly destroy them all and there would be no one that could stop him. On the other hand, if he remained loyal, he could be a great asset. The fact that he was last of his clan, the son of the great fourth Hokage and the holder of a powerful new Dujutsu, wasn't lost on Hiyashi either, as he read through the reports in front of him on the various abilities of the Omnigan and the abilities that Naruto could pass on to the next generation should he have children. Truth be told, the possibilities were endless and it could help him solve a problem he had been having. That problem concerned his two daughters. Though he didn't often act like it, he did love them both, but as head of the clan he had to be stern, strict, and as his old friend Arashi had once put it, a guy with a 9-foot pole up his ass. He knew that he would one day have to place the caged bird seal on one of his daughters and he dreaded it. He still hated the fact that his twin brother had been robbed of his rightful place as head of the clan due to the damned elders and their laws. Hinata, his eldest, he knew wasn't cut out to be clan heir. She lacked the spirit and bite needed to deal with the elders, whereas her sister, Hinabi, did have it. If he could somehow arrange a marriage between Hinata and Naruto, he would solve his problems. Hinata would become an Uzumaki and escape the fate of the caged bird seal, and her sister could take the place of clan heir, or some other possible arrangements could be made. Hokage-sama, does Uzumaki-san fall under the Clan Restoration Act? Hiyashi asked in his usual monotone, an indifferent look on his features. Hook, line and sinker. Sarutobi thought smugly. Yes, he does. It was one of Arashi's final wishes that Naruto rebuild his clan under the Uzumaki surname, though his full name is Naruto Kazama Uzumaki, though that could be prone to change should he desire to take his father's true surname. And now, given the fact that he has a Dujutsu that rivals both Sharingan and Byakugan, he is by law required to take multiple wives to ensure the future of his clan line. He answered and could see a slight gleam in the Hyuga's eyes, meaning that he would tender a arranged marriage proposal the first chance he got. Inoichi Yamanaka and Yuki Haruno also had thoughtful looks on their faces. It wasn't the fact that Naruto was now considered an elite or that he was rich, which he was thanks to his inheritance, but both their daughters seemed to be warming up to the boy and he had saved them. That was proof enough for both of them that he wasn't some evil demon incarnate. A marriage with Naruto would bring honor to both their clans. There were still some civilian council members who had looks on their faces like they had bitten into a sour piece of fruit. The remaining members that had been loyal to Danzo had blanched and now feared for their lives. They were quickly rethinking their outlook on the boy, not wanting to suffer his wrath or the wrath of those who supported him. The rest looked ashamed that they had treated the son of their hero so horribly and vowed silently to make it up to him some way or another. Sarutobi smiled. This had gone far better than he could have hoped. The other Junin in the room that knew Naruto's secret smiled as well. Naruto would bring great and need change to Konoha, and so long as he was treated the way he deserved to be treated, then Konoha would remain safe. Naruto found himself on the outskirts of the business district looking at an old building. He was surprised that he hadn't noticed it in the past, but it was a weapons shop specifically for shinobis. It was called Kazuyama Weapons Smithy. He was surprised because there was only one Kazuyama in Konoha. Tenten Kazuyama. He knew for a fact that she was orphaned 6 months after the Kyuubi attack, since they had been friends in the other timeline. He didn't know that she owned a weapons shop. She must have inherited it from her parents. He walked in to see a large variety and supply of weapons in styles varying from traditional shinobi weapons to weapons from other countries. There were also supplies for field medics such as Senbon needles, blood pills, food pills and soldier pills along with various medicinal creams and bandages. To put it simply, this shop carried anything one would need as a shinobi. At the counter sat a man who Naruto knew as Kazuki Yatsuga. He was Tenten's uncle and last living relative. He was a kindly man who was a retired Junin due to the loss of his right leg. He still got around all right and could work a mean forge, but his time as a ninja had been lost with his leg. Still, the man had remained cheerful and had a good outlook on things. He had always been one of the few people kind to Naruto when he was smaller and acted as his guard. Well, if it isn't little Naruto, Kazuki said with a grin. You sure have grown since I last saw you. Naruto smiled. It's good to see you again, Kazuki-san. How are things with you? He asked as he began getting some supplies. At first he had just planned on getting a few things for himself, but since he was going to be teaching Sakura how to be a med nin, he decided on getting her a set of all the needed supplies. Senbon, pill packs, storage scrolls, a utility belt with pouches to hold her medical supplies, medicinal creams, bandages. I'm doing fine, lad. I see you finally became a genin. Good for you. Kazuki stated with a smile. Yeah, I got Kakashi Hatake as my Junin sensei. Naruto said as he found an interesting pair of fighter's gloves. They were a deep red color like Sakura's dress that she always wore, with black plates on the top and knuckles. Etched into the plate was a red Konoha leaf symbol with pink cherry blossom petals etched in a swirling pattern. The gloves practically screamed Sakura Haruno. Not really thinking about it, he grabbed them up and set them with the rest of his purchases. Kakashi is a good one, a bit odd at times but very strong and smart. Kazuki said as he eyed the gloves Naruto picked out curiously. Who'd you get those for? My teammate wants to be a med nin and I thought a pair of fighting gloves would give her an edge with her taijutsu. Naruto answered. Kazuki chuckled. Got yourself a girlfriend, huh? No, she's just a good friend. Her name is Sakura Haruno. The gloves just seem to fit. Naruto stated. Kazuki just nodded and eyed Naruto's swords. I see you've taken up Kenjutsu. You any good? I'm pretty decent. I've got down a few styles and I'm also proficient in the Zanbato and Scythe as well. To be honest, the only thing I can't really do is Genjutsu. Naruto stated modestly as he placed some clover oil on the counter. Really? Maybe we should spar sometime. There aren't many Kenjutsu users in this village. A familiar voice said from behind them. Naruto turned around to see Tenten standing there also eyeing up his swords. She looked just like he remembered. Green Anbu-style pants, a pink Chinese-style sleeveless top and her hair done up into two cute buns that make her look a bit like a panda bear. The name's Tenten Kazuyama. What's yours? She asked with a smile. Damn, this guy is hot. Neji-kun, you just got beat in the looks department. She mused to herself. Naruto flashed his foxy grin, causing Tenten's insides to squirm in delight. Naruto Kazama Uzumaki, it's a pleasure to meet you. Naruto said, giving her a slight bow. Tenten flushed slightly as Kazuki barked a laugh. Looks like Shikaku-san was right. You are the fourth's kid, aren't ya? He asked. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I found out a week ago. Damn, it feels weird lying all the time and having to get to know everyone again, but I can't let too many people know about that secret. I can't risk the timeline changing too much or I'll ruin my chance to protect everyone. Naruto thought. Tenten was speechless. The son of the legendary Yellow Flash was shopping in her family's store. He looked very strong for his age, he was into Kenjutsu and he was incredibly handsome. Tenten was seriously thinking about becoming the first member of his fan club. So far his personality beat Neji's hands down. Perhaps she should get to know him better, then who knows. So, Naruto Dono, would you be interested in having a spar sometime? Tenten asked almost shyly. What's with girls getting shy around me all of a sudden? Oh well, I'll figure it out later. No way in hell am I passing up a chance to spar with Tenten. she's the best if not only weapons mistress in Konoha. We could help each other improve our skills greatly. Naruto thought and then smiled at her, causing her to flush slightly. Sure, I'd be honored to spar with you, but only if you drop the dono bit. If you have to use a suffix, then use san or something. Naruto said in a modest tone. Tenten grinned. She was already beginning to like this young man even more than before. Okay, Naruto-kun, I'm usually at training ground 9 in the evenings for target practice, so stop by when you can. Tenten said with a smile. Naruto nodded. I'll be sure to drop by one of these days soon. Who knows, we might be able to teach each other something new. He then turned to Kazuki, who was watching the exchange with a bemused expression. So, what's the damage? He asked. Kazuki finished ringing up the items. That will be 10,456 ryo. He said. Naruto pulled out a black leather pouch. He had long ago gotten rid of his frog purse Gama-chan, in exchange for a money pouch, not that anyone in this time would actually know. He quickly pulled out the needed amount and stuffed the remaining wad of bills back into his pouch and put it in his rear belt pouch. He then grabbed one of the storage scrolls he purchased and began sealing items away into one for Sakura, and the rest went into another for him to gather when needed. Well, it was nice seeing you again, Kazuki-san. I'll be sure to shop here from now on, seeing as how you carry all the equipment I need. He turned to Tenten. It was also nice meeting you, Tenten-chan. I will try to see you again in a day or so for our spar. Have a good day to both of you. Naruto bowed politely and walked out of the shop. Kazuki grinned at the rather glazed look on his niece's face. Looks like little Tenten has a new crush. He teased. Tenten turned several shades of pink and huffed. Oh, shut it, Uncle Kazuki. She yelled and walked off to hide her embarrassment while her uncle laughed loudly.